Hey, shalom to the hopeful elect. First and foremost, call Halayim Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who teach the truth and rule well. This is the brother Yatab Yahweh Allah coming back from the GMS SF Bay Area camp. And I got a quick lesson today. Lord's will is edifying, but basically, I was sent this article, going into these quarantine camps you have over there in Australia. And this is just a precursor of what's to come to America, because these same camps, quarantine camps, prison camps, whatever you want to call them, are coming to America, and they're talked about in the scriptures, But I'm gonna read a little bit of this article and grab a couple scriptures because, hey, this shows us what times we're in. We're living at the end. Esau's losing his grip, and he's losing his kingdom, so he has to go hard, Actually, let me just start with that real quick. This is Revelations 12:12. Hey, because a lot of our people, they trust the so-called white man. They trust the Edomite. You have a lot of our people getting his yab. You have a lot of people believing in his his medical procedures. And that's going to be the downfall of a lot of our people. But see, you have something else coming. You have something that our people aren't even ready for. They're not even anticipating, and that's this great wrath. The scripture calls it Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, all these things to try the majority of our people. Well, all of us will be tried, but the majority of our people are going to fail, and you see them setting the stage. What was it a couple days ago, the so-called BLM activists, supposedly BLM activist, was running over those people. I think he killed like 5 people, and who was the face of it? Jake. So they're painting Jake as that terrorist, and a lot of our people trust this man, but see, this man, he has it out for us, he literally, he when you go deep, he wants his birthright back, so he's going to try and do everything he can. But I'll just start with this. This is Revelations 12:12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil," and who's the devil? The devil being the deceiver. And who is the ultimate deceiver on this planet Earth? The so-called white man, Esau, Edom. That's who the devil that the Bible speaks is. Not no so-called red man with a pitchfork in a made-up place called hell, below the earth. That's dogma. The true devil, the true deceiver, on this planet is the so-called white man. It says, "For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time." And this is the point, This devil, he knows that his rulership is waning, as is prophesied. And because he knows his rulership is waning, he's going to go all out. And you see that with his witchcraft. You see with his medical procedures. Ultimately, everything's heading towards what? The transhumanism, getting you ready for the Great Reset, as they call it, whatever you want to call it, the New World Order. But basically, it's this man's last-ditch effort to get full control, because that's what it's about, the power. And he's losing his power, But he knows that he has but a short time, because his witchcraft is not working like it used to. His power is being taken, and he has to do more and more things. He has to get more and more desperate to get this control, and we see it. There's some called alternative media. If you're in the know and you're watching, you see that all around the world, they're going crazy. There's, like the scripture says, sedition among men, which is a prophecy, which are these protests. You see that going all around the world, But see, Esau, he's going to try and lock shit down. And I'm going to grab this real quick, and then I'll jump back. This is 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, just to show that this man is, I believe it's the 9th chapter. Yep. What's a lot? Is it 6? No, yeah, it's 6. This is 2nd Ezra 6:1. It says, "And he said unto me in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightning, forever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys of Sion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and forever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed, they have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. So, hey, this goes to show you the power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You know, he's the one that created us. He's the one that put the spirit in us. He's the one that created Esau. Put the spirit in Esau, Edom, to do what he's doing. And that was sought up from the beginning. You know, brothers always go into it. We're living in the movie that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai created, you know, and we're just playing our part. Lord's will we're of that number to get saved, you know. Verse 7, though, it says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times, or what shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. So why is he mentioning Jacob and Esau? Why is that, you know, even a parable for the times of the end? Because that goes to show you who's in rulership. You know, and that's the meat and the potatoes, so to speak, like the elder, I think it's Elder Apostle Ramlab always goes into it. You know, the meat and potatoes of this whole movie is Jacob and Esau. You know, that's even from the beginning. You know, in the garden, that same spirit of Esau, Edom, was the serpent beguiling Eve, and eventually caused our downfall. You know, and then what? Cain and Abel, you know, and then you know, Esau and Jacob, you know, the going into the birthrights, you know, and to now, it says, And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And that's the point. You know, Esau, because he's in rulership, it tells you that in Job 9:24, Esau has his rulership right now. The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked being the so-called white man. So he's been given this power. But see, we read earlier, he knows that he has but a short time. And like it says in 2nd Ezra, that Esau is the end and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau's downfall, the end of his rulership, means what? The beginning of Jacob, or the kingdom of Israel. And when we read in the scriptures, that kingdom, you know, when Jake gets in control, when I say Jake, I'm talking about the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. When they get in control, that's a rulership that's going to last forever, you know. So you would think, and we're right, Esau, he's getting scared, you know. And, you know, he has pride to think that he can still continue on. He thinks he can upset prophecy, but nonetheless, he knows that his time is running out, you know. And you know, like I said, I'm going to get this article, and it just goes to show you that, you know, yes, this might be Australia, but hey, this is coming to America. This is coming to all over the world. And we'll read why. But this is from Zero Hedge, and this Australian Army begins transferring CV positive cases contacts to quarantine camps. It says the Australian Army has begun forcibly removing residents in the Northern Territories to the Howard Springs quarantine camp located in Darwin, after 9 new CV cases were identified in the community of Banjari. The move comes after hard lockdowns were instituted in the communities of both Banjari and nearby Rockhole on Saturday night. It says residents of Banjari and Rockhole no longer have the 5 reasons to leave their homes, said Northern Territory Chief Minister Michael Gunner, referring to the country's 5 allowable reasons to avoid lockdown: buying food and supplies, exercising for up to 2 hours, care or caregiving, work or education if it cannot be done from home, and to get medical procedure at the nearest possible location. It says they can only leave for medical treatment in an emergency or as required by law. It's highly likely that more residents will be transferred to Howard Springs today, either as positive cases or close contacts, he continued, adding, "We have already identified 38 close contacts from Banjari, but that number will go up. Those 38 are being transferred now." You know? It says, "I contacted the Prime Minister last night. We are grateful for the support of about 20 ADF personnel as well as army trucks to assist with the transfer of positive cases and close contacts and to support the communities, you know? What does it say? Yeah, but that's pretty much it. You know, so you can see, you know, in Australia, they got the army involved with you know, transferring these so-called positive cases to quarantine facilities, you know? And if you look at the statistics over there in Australia, there's only a few deaths, if that, from the actual, you know, CV, you know? So all this is just, this is an agenda, you know, and that's that, this agenda that's being pushed across the whole globe, you know? This is that beast system. And ultimately what it's headed by Esau Edom, because he's in control, you know? But let me get that again in Revelations, the 12th chapter. It says, Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So these quarantine camps are a show of his wrath, you know? And it's only going to get worse. And yes, it's coming to a city near you, you know? All these different countries are always the testing grounds to see what would happen. See how the people respond, you know, and once they like their results, they start implementing it in the so-called first world countries, you know, which Australia is a first world, but see that it's so isolated, you know, they wanted to test it over there, but see, that's coming to America, and it's all over the world, especially in Europe. You have all these, what do they call it? The medical procedure passes, you know, and if you don't have that pass, you can't go in and out. They even do that over here in America. But it's not widespread like that, and there's a lot of pushback that, you know, that you don't necessarily see in the media, you know. But ultimately, you know, we're gonna see the devil show his true horns, and he's not gonna care about people's feelings, you know. He's not gonna care about the uprisings, which the uprisings are already happening, you know. He's just gonna go full force and lock shit down. Why? Because it's scriptural. Let me get this real quick. I'm going to start with Matthew 10 and 22, and then I'm going to jump to 2nd Ezra. But this is Matthew 10 and 22, and it says, you know what? Let me just start at 16. Matthew 10 and 16, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpent and harmless as doves. And, you know, that's how we have to operate, and especially in this society, you know. We're not out there on the front lines of these so-called, you know, protests, these riots. You know, hey, we understand full well that the Lord is in full control, and we don't have to do those things, you know. We need to be harmless and wise. But it says, verse 17, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And this is going to happen to the true believers. And this is Yahweh Shai speaking. And you shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. You know, because ultimately, you know, I got the quarantine camp, that article, you know, but ultimately, you know, we're not, you know, what does that say? We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. This is just one thing that he's using, and he's deeming it a quarantine camp. But ultimately, what? Who are the ones that aren't taking that medical procedure? You know? Well, if you're in the know, it's the true believers. It's the ones that truly believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Why? Because we understand what happens if we take that thing. You know, we understand full well that it's pure poison. And we're not to rely on that to so-called heal you, which it doesn't even heal you. It actually causes death, you know? So who do you think these so-called quarantine camps are going to be aimed towards? It's going to be aimed towards the true men of the Lord, the true believers, you know? But see, it says, and you shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought of how or what you shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. For it is not you that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. So we don't have nothing to fear. You know, hey, we're going to be wise as serpents, as harmless as doves, and let the Spirit flow, you know. And I'm going to get it in Revelations, the 2nd chapter, but it shows us that all this is just a test. But verse 21, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And this is what you're seeing. A lot of this enemies in the household, Esau breaking up the family structure, having people at odds with what do they call it, the anti-Yab and the Yab, the right and the left. You see all this chaos that Esau is putting into the families. And I've witnessed it firsthand. There's actual people in our families that are so gung-ho for that medical procedure that they literally hate you for going against what the system says, because they're so caught up in the system. So what do you think is going to happen to those people? What do you think when you're deemed a so-called terrorist, a bioterrorist, whatever you want to call it, because you won't bow down to their system? What do you think the so-called family members who believe in the system are going to do? They're going to turn on you. But this is the point, verse 22, and you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. And that's the point. Hey, we're going to be hated, so be it. We're going to be hated for our views, which, hey, the Lord told us what it is, and by the Spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, we know that these medical procedures who are created by Esau Edom are no good for us. And we don't trust our enemy. And our number one enemy, the meat and the potatoes is of Jacob and Esau is Esau, the so-called white man. But it says, but he that endured to the end shall be saved. Because why? Hey, real quick, Revelations 2:9. It says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which, verse 10. Revelation 2:10, fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And see, that's the point. So if we endure these things, these troublesome, acts that we're gonna witness, that Esau, Edom is gonna try and do against us. Hey, if we endure it and we trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, we have nothing to fear, But see, these so-called quarantine camps, that's just one device of the so-called white man, and it's just a test. Because what does it say? The Lord told us these things were going to happen, and yes, that quarantine camp is just another form of prison. Let me read it again. Revelation 2:10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. So we don't fear these quarantine camps. We don't fear the hatred, of our family, the hatred of these people, because why? We trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. It says, behold, the devil, and we understand who the devil is, the so-called white man, shall cast some of you into prison. And who do you think's making these quarantine camps? The so-called white man. That you may be tried, and you shall have, so it's all a trial. And you shall have tribulation 10 days, and that 10 days is just a period of time. It doesn't necessarily mean 10 days, It could be less, it could be more. But here's the point. Be thou faithful unto death. So no matter what they try and do to you, be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And that's what we're fighting for, that crown of life. Because we know ultimately if you submit to the so-called white man, that's death. And that's not what we want. In Lord's will, we can endure, because this devil's coming. Let me get this in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, real quick. This is 2nd Ezra 16. And let me just start at verse 67. It says, behold, the Most High himself is the judge. Fear him. And ultimately, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is who's in control of everything that we see happening. Even the so-called white man on the left-hand side. We're reading about it. It says, leave off from your sins and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall the Most High lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. And see, that's our faith. That's our comfort. That if we stay faithful, hey, the Lord will help us endure. He'll get us through these troubling times. He'll get us through these so-called quarantine camps. If that's our lot, and that might not necessarily be your lot, But hey, to some it is coming. to those who believe, to some of those who believe. But it says, verse 68, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. And that's that hatred. You know, for what? For the name's sake of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, for us being faithful. And they shall take away certain of you and feed you being idle with things offered unto idols. And that's that's what they're going to do. And what's some of those things they're going to feed you with? The yab, you know, the MOTB. But what? We have to stay faithful. It says, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot. So if you accept those things, if you give in, hey, ultimately you're just that's it. You know, you sealed your fate. And that fate would be what? Death. But verse 70, it says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. And when you read into it, hey, they already have quarantine camps set up all over America in all these major cities, you know. But they're just what? They're waiting to, you know, put it into motion, you know. But that's the point. Verse 70 again, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. You know, and that insurrection is a violent uprising. Violent uprising against those who fear the Lord. And like I said, you know, in